My name is George Mercer, 64 years old, and the day I woke up in St. Luke's Hospital, the nurse called me retired. Your daughter said you're stepping back, she'd said, fluffing my pillow like she hadn't just dropped a bomb. She took care of the business paperwork while you were under anesthesia. You must be proud. She's quite efficient. Efficient. That word hit harder than the heart attack itself. I turned my head, tubes tugging at my arm, and saw a bouquet of roses sitting by the window. The card read, "You rest now, Dad. The company's safe with me. Love, Lisa." Safe with her. Those 4 words made my chest tighten worse than the stent. For 30 years, I'd built Mercer Build Co. from a single rusted pickup and a loan I couldn't afford. I'd poured concrete in freezing rain, patched roofs in July heat, and built a reputation brick by brick, a company that fed 24 families. And while I lay doped up on morphine, my own daughter had taken care of it. A week later, I came home to a mailbox stuffed with envelopes I didn't recognize, all addressed to Mercer Holdings, LLC. Not Mercer Build Co. New logo, new name. I drove to the office the next morning, still sore, still wearing the hospital band. The parking lot was full, but the sign over the door had changed. Mercer Industrial, a division of Kenley Group. Inside, Lisa was standing where I used to stand. My chair, my desk, my damn nameplate gone. "Dad," she said, bright as sunshine, "you're up and moving. You weren't supposed to drive yet." "What is this?" I asked quietly. "An opportunity," she said. "Kenley Group made an offer while you were in recovery. I signed. It's done. You still have a seat on the board." Board. I built the board. She went on about synergy and expansion potential, all MBA gloss for "I sold your life's work while you couldn't speak." When she said, "I did it for you," something in me went still. Because that's what betrayal sounds like when it wears your last name. That night, I sat in my truck outside the darkened site yard. The smell of sawdust and diesel hung in the air. I'd built this place with my hands, and she'd signed it away with a pen. Then I remembered the nurse's phrase again. "She took care of everything while you were under." That's when the thought hit me, sharp and cold. I never signed a damn thing. I walked into that office the next morning with a purpose. Lisa was in a meeting with some man in a tailored gray suit, mid-40s, slick hair, Rolex glinting. She looked startled when she saw me standing at the glass door. "Dad, not now," she hissed, flashing that nervous PR smile. "We're in the middle of—" "Who's this?" I asked. The man stood and extended a hand. "Kenley Price, Kenley Group." I didn't take it. Instead, I looked at Lisa. "We need to talk. Alone." Kenley raised an eyebrow, smirked, and excused himself to take a call. Lisa exhaled like she'd been holding her breath since the hospital. "Dad, I know this looks sudden, but I had to act fast. The market's changing. Kenley's offering us growth capital. It's a merger, not a sale." I opened the folder on her desk, my desk, and saw my own signature on a power of attorney form, dated the day of my surgery. "You signed this," I said. "You told me to," she shot back, a little too quickly. I shook my head. I was unconscious. You can't get legal consent from a man under morphine. Her eyes flickered. The lawyer said, "Which lawyer?" I snapped. That broke her composure. "Dad, please," she said quietly. "You were dying. I had to protect what you built." "Protect it by selling it?" I said. "Or protect yourself when I couldn't?" She slammed her hands on the table. "You think I wanted this? You left me running a company full of dinosaurs and unpaid invoices. Kenley offered structure, vision. You'd rather sink it out of pride than let it evolve. I stared at her. This woman I'd raised, who used to hand me wrenches in the garage. You didn't evolve it, I said. You gutted it. The door opened, and Kenley stepped back in, smiling like he'd walked into a sitcom. Everything okay here? Lisa turned to him, her tone instantly soft again. Just a family discussion. Dad's adjusting to change. Kenley nodded politely. Mr. Mercer, we value what you've built. Really, but this transition's done. Your daughter's the controlling shareholder now. You should be proud. She's sharp. I looked at him, then at her, and for the first time in my life I said nothing, because I understood exactly what this was. They weren't just replacing me. They were rewriting me out of my own story. As I walked out, Lisa called after me. Dad, please don't make this harder than it has to be. I didn't turn back. Don't worry, I said. You've already done the hard part. When I pulled into the yard that Monday, the security gate didn't open. The guard, a kid I'd hired last summer, stepped out of the booth, looking nervous. Morning, Mr. Mercer, senior, he said. Senior? He swallowed hard. Mrs. Mercer said all access cards were reset. Only management-level staff on the new roster get clearance. I stared through the gate at the trucks I'd bought, the building I'd built, the men I'd trained. Son, I said, open the gate. He shook his head. I can't, sir. Company policy. For a long second, I thought about ramming that gate down. Instead, I backed up, parked across the street, and walked in through the side lot. Inside, the air was wrong. Cold, sanitized. New logo banners hung from the rafters. Mercer Industrial, a Kenley Partners company. The break room had been modernized, which meant someone threw away the old coffee maker I'd had since '09. Then I heard her voice echo from the open-floor conference area. Lisa stood with Kenley beside a projector screen, giving a presentation to the staff. And as we transition into this new phase, we'll focus on scalability and digital integration. Mr. Price's leadership will take us there. Applause. Then Kenley stepped forward, putting a hand on her shoulder like he owned her too. Let's also thank Mr. Mercer Sr. for his decades of dedication. He'll be stepping into an advisory role while enjoying a well-earned retirement. Laughter rippled, polite, hollow laughter. Someone clapped slower than the rest, and that sound sliced through me like a blade. I stepped forward. Funny, I said, my voice cutting across the room. Nobody told me I'd retired. The crowd froze. Lisa's smile faltered. Dad, we talked about this. No, you talked, I said. I just happened to be unconscious at the time. Kenley cleared his throat. Mr. Mercer, this isn't the time or place. This was my place, I said, until your paperwork made it yours. Lisa stepped forward, her face a mix of anger and embarrassment. You're making a scene. Please just... No, I said quietly. You made a scene when you forged my name. That silence, it was absolute. Every worker, every foreman, every man who'd called me boss for 20 years looked between us like they were watching a house fire they couldn't stop. Lisa whispered, You need to leave before you humiliate yourself further. I turned to the crew. Gentlemen, remember what this company was built on. Trust and sweat. If either of those still matter, you'll know where to find me. Then I walked out, past Kenley's smirk, past my daughter's pale face. Outside, I saw Daniel Ruiz, my old foreman, leaning against his truck. He gave me a slow nod. I've got something you need to see, he said. What is it? Paperwork from the sale, he said quietly. Your signature's on it, but not in your handwriting. Daniel spread the papers out on the hood of his pickup like evidence at a crime scene. He'd printed them from the county records office that morning. Deed transfers, ownership filings, and the sale agreement with Kenley Group. "Here," he said, pointing to the signature block. And there it was, my name written in a hand that wasn't mine. The G curved wrong, the C in Mercer slanted left. "Lisa," I muttered, feeling the word like a nail in my throat. Daniel nodded grimly. "She forged it using the old contract template. Look at the date stamp. The same day you were in the ICU. Time-stamped 9:17 a.m. I'd been under anesthesia then, tubes in my lungs. Machines keeping my heart steady." He flipped another page. "This part's worse. After the sale, she closed all existing company accounts and moved the funds into a new account under her name, Mercer Legacy Management." Sounds noble, right? I read the numbers. $842,000. My company's working capital, gone. Payroll, savings, equipment escrow, all drained. "Jesus Christ," I whispered. "She cleaned it out." Daniel looked me dead in the eye. "George, I've worked for you 22 years. I've seen you fight through inspectors, lawsuits, even tornado damage. But this? She didn't just steal your company. She buried your name." The words hit harder than a hammer. I remembered the last time I'd seen Lisa before the heart attack. Her hugging me goodbye, saying, "You built something timeless, Dad. I'll make sure it lasts." Now I understood. She hadn't meant the company. She'd meant her career. "Does anyone else know?" I asked. Daniel shook his head. "Not yet. Kenley's good at keeping quiet. But I know one person who might help, Alicia Boone. Remember her? Accountant. You fired her last year." "She didn't quit," Daniel corrected. "Lisa forced her out. Alicia found inconsistencies in the books months ago. Probably the early setup for this." I looked at him, anger burning through the fatigue. "Find her," he hesitated. "You sure about this, boss? If we stir it up without proof—" "We've got proof," I said, tapping the fake signature. "Now we find the rest." That night, I sat in my motel room staring at that forged page under the lamplight. My name. My life. Sold like cheap scrap. Then I remembered something the nurse had said back in the hospital. "Your daughter signed everything for you. She was confident, said she'd done it before." Done it before. And that's when I realized this wasn't her first time signing my name. The next morning, I sat at the motel desk with my old laptop and a half-empty cup of burnt coffee, trying to log into my personal bank account. Password rejected, again and again. Finally, the system locked me out for too many failed attempts. I called the bank. The rep on the line, young voice, too cheerful, said, "Mr. Mercer, your daughter Lisa is listed as co-signer. She's already verified recent account changes. Do you want to speak with her?" I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles went white. "No," I said. "Just tell me the balance." She paused. "Your primary checking account shows $318.47, sir. Savings is empty." Empty. I hung up, stared at the motel carpet, and laughed. A dry, humorless laugh that cracked my chest open. My daughter hadn't just taken my company. She'd drained the life I'd built around it. Every penny I'd saved since her mother died. There was a knock on the door. The motel manager, a thin man with sunburnt skin, leaned in, hat in hand. "Mr. Mercer, sorry to bother you. Just need to check if you'll be extending another week. Policy says I gotta ask up front." I reached into my wallet, counted the last bills. "I'll pay through Friday," I said. He nodded sympathetically. "Tough times, huh? Holidays always hit folks hard." I forced a smile. Yeah, something like that. When he left, the silence pressed down on me. I'd gone from CEO to man counting crumpled cash in a motel room. The men I'd employed, 50 of them, probably thought I was enjoying retirement. Meanwhile, my own daughter had written me out of every system, every account, every piece of identity tied to the name George Mercer. That night, Daniel called. "Boss, found Alicia Boone. She's working nights at a logistics firm in Mesa. Said she'd talk to you, but not over the phone." "Good," I said, staring at my reflection in the window. A man with nothing left but time and anger. "Tell her I'll be there tomorrow." After he hung up, I opened my old storage drive, the one I kept for project archives. I scrolled through decades of invoices, permits, audits, and there it was, a folder labeled 2019 Audit, Internal Only. Inside were discrepancies Alicia had flagged 4 years ago, unauthorized transfers, testing accounts, all signed off by Lisa Mercer. I sat back in the chair, the motel lights flickering above me, and whispered to no one, "You buried me once, Lisa. You won't get to do it twice." Alicia Boone lived in a modest duplex on the east side of Mesa, the kind of place where blinds were always half drawn and people minded their own business. She opened the door before I could even knock twice. Short woman, maybe 40, sharp eyes behind thick glasses. "Mr. Mercer," she said quietly, "I figured you'd come eventually." We sat at her kitchen table, old coffee stains, unpaid bills stacked in one corner. She pushed a flash drive toward me. Everything I kept before I left. Thought I'd delete it, but something told me not to. I plugged it into my laptop. Dozens of PDFs filled the screen, audit reports, internal memos, scanned signatures. "This is all from Mercer Industrial?" I asked. Every cent that went missing. Lisa started moving funds through dummy vendors in 2018. Supply optimization partners, she called them. They didn't exist. The payments went to shell accounts under her name. My pulse quickened as I scrolled. Tens of thousands at first, then hundreds. Each signed and approved under my digital credentials. "You tried to warn me," I said. Alicia nodded. "She intercepted my emails. Next week I was gone." I leaned back, the full picture snapping into place like steel beams locking. Lisa hadn't stumbled into this. She'd been building it, quietly, piece by piece, for years. "She's smart," Alicia said, "but greedy. She leaves patterns, same invoice numbers, same shell routing format. If you follow those trails, you'll have enough to prove intent and fraud." "Then we prove it," I said. Alicia hesitated. "You can't just walk into court with this. Kenley's team has lawyers who eat people like us for breakfast. You need leverage." That word stuck. Leverage. I closed the laptop. "Then we'll get it," she frowned. "How?" "By turning her own arrogance into evidence." That night, back at the motel, I started mapping out the plan. Every move she'd made, every shell account. Lisa thought she'd erased me, the old man who didn't understand modern business. She'd forgotten where she learned it all. I'd taught her about corporate traceability. Every wire transfer leaves a path. Every forged doc leaves metadata. So I called Daniel. "You still have that security clearance for the company servers?" "Yeah," he said cautiously. "Why?" "Because starting tomorrow, we're going hunting." I closed my notebook and stared out at the desert sky beyond the motel window. The man who'd been broken was gone. The builder was back. By dawn, my motel desk looked like a war room. Sticky notes covered the wall. Dates, account numbers, transfer IDs. The blueprint of betrayal. Daniel arrived with coffee and an old laptop from the warehouse server room. "This one's still running on the pre-sale credentials," he said. "If Lisa didn't wipe the backups, we might have ghosts in the system." I cracked my knuckles. "Then let's wake them up." The old login still worked. Within minutes, I was staring at a buried folder labeled Pending Vendor Contracts. Hundreds of invoices flowed through Kenley Consulting, JMR Holdings, and Legacy Supply Partners. All with the same pattern, invoice totals ending in 17. Lisa's birth date. "She left her fingerprint everywhere," I said. Daniel whistled low. "She didn't just steal from you. She stole from the company's clients too." "Exactly," I said. "That's leverage." We spent hours cross-referencing transfers, mapping the chain of fraud. Alicia joined us via Zoom from her kitchen, walking us through how Kenley's firm had absorbed Mercer Industrial's assets in exchange for future equity, a shell-to-shell scam. "You'll need physical proof," she warned. "Digital trails can be buried. Paper can't." That's when Daniel pulled a keychain from his pocket. "Remember the old records locker at the yard? I never threw out your backup binders." I smiled for the first time in weeks. Then we've got our foundation. By noon, the plan had shape. Gather evidence. Pull hard copies from the old storage room. Create bait, a fake expansion proposal under Mercer's legacy brand, complete with forged interest from a major client. Record the meeting. Get Kenley and Lisa on tape discussing the transfer fraud. Alicia said, "You're talking entrapment." "No," I corrected. "I'm talking truth." Daniel leaned forward. "What's the endgame?" I looked him dead in the eye. "We give them the deal of their lives and make sure they sign it under her name." That night, I drafted a document titled Mercer Infrastructure Revival Proposal. It looked like a corporate expansion offer worth $1.2 million, enough bait to draw both Lisa and Kenley into one room. All I needed was a place to host it. Daniel grinned. "The old site office is still empty. We'll clean it up." As I saved the final file, a thought hit me. The same desk where Lisa forged my signature was where I'd make her sign her own downfall. We worked after dark. There's something honest about the hours when everyone else is asleep. Mistakes stand out clearer, and crooks are lazier. Daniel and I slipped through the back gate with flashlights and gloves, like thieves in a movie. Only this time we were reclaiming a life I never agreed to lose. The old records locker sat under the mezzanine, a metal door with a rusted padlock I'd installed myself years ago. I still knew the combination by muscle memory. Daniel fumbled it, cursed, and laughed when the lock gave. The fluorescent strip light above buzzed like an old generator. Inside, files were stacked in boxes, dusty permits, yellowing invoices, and those damn binders I hadn't looked at since the accountant left. I peeled open a cardboard box and found them. The paper ledgers. Not scanned copies, not PDFs. Original, signed invoices, bank deposit slips, canceled checks. The kind of things a digital trickster can't tidy away without leaving fingerprints. "Grab anything with Legacy Supply Partners or Kenley listed," I told Daniel. He dug while I scanned. On the second shelf, under a contractor's permit, I found a sheaf of vendor invoices with the exact same vendor IDs Alicia had flagged on her flash drive. Each had matching approval stamps, and in one margin, faint but legible, someone had written, "Approve LM." My heart went cold. LM, Lisa Mercer, her initials, in ink. We loaded everything into the pickup bed. Daniel winked. "Good haul, boss." The old pride warmed me like a match. Back at the site office, we set up the trap. Daniel cleaned the conference table. I arranged chairs and dusted off an old coffee urn. We placed two tiny, motion-activated cameras, one tucked in the conference light fixture, another disguised in a potted fern, and hid a digital voice recorder beneath a stack of bogus NDA contracts I'd prepared as bait. Alicia wired me a burner phone with a voicemail message from a supposed client expressing interest in a $1.2 million project, the kind of irresistible lure that makes predators bite. I printed the Mercer Infrastructure Revival proposal in glossy color and bound it with a convincing letterhead. It looked real enough to make a shark salivate. The language promised fast-tracked escrow release and immediate capital injection pending signature, a deal structured to trigger any hard-nosed investor's FOMO. We even slipped in a fabricated wire authorization form that appeared to require one-time countersignature by a controlling shareholder. "Remember," Alicia said over the speaker as I rehearsed my lines, "we don't manufacture evidence. We manufacture chances for them to reveal theirs. If they talk themselves into a trap and sign, that's their doing, and it's admissible." The meeting invitation read official. Same time next Thursday. Private discussion regarding strategic expansion. It was addressed to Lisa and Kenley, so Daniel emailed it from a phantom address I'd set up under a contractor alias. Kenley, hungry for headlines and growth, RSVP'd within the hour. On Thursday morning, I sat in the shadows of the conference room with a mug of stale coffee and my old foreman's hands folded in my lap. My pulse steadied. The cameras whirred in silence. We'd already cataloged the ledgers as physical proof #1, a paper trail that tied Lisa's initials and vendor IDs to the shell payments Alicia had unearthed. Now we were about to add the video and signed bait to the evidence pile. When the door opened and both of them walked in, Lisa in a crisp blazer, Kenley with his practiced smile, I felt the room tilt like the day the first beam went up. They didn't know what was sitting under the fern. Lisa sat. Kenley scanned the glossy proposal, eyes bright. I let Daniel start with pleasantries, and then, like a curtain drop, I placed the counterfeit escrow release on the table and asked, casual as gravel, "If we sign this today, how soon can you release the funds?" Kenley's answer was immediate, greedy. "Same day. Wire moves fast when there's incentive." Lisa leaned in, breath tight. "We'll need signatures on the authorization. I can sign for Mercer Holdings if that helps speed things up." Her voice, so familiar, so easy, was the one I'd trained a lifetime to read. It gave me the line I needed. She reached for the pen. I let the cameras drink the moment. The pen clicked twice before she started signing. That soft, confident motion. I'd seen it 1,000 times, back when she'd countersigned payroll or contracts beside me at the kitchen table. She didn't even read it. Lisa's hand moved like muscle memory. L. Mercer, controlling shareholder. Kenley's followed right after, his signature a smug flourish across the bottom line. I forced my breathing steady. Every word was being captured. Video, audio, metadata timestamp. When she passed the folder back to me, I smiled. "That's perfect," I said. "Exactly the authorization I needed." Kenley leaned back. "I'll wire the initial deposit tomorrow morning. Once that clears, we can announce the partnership publicly. This'll make everyone forget that messy transition." Lisa nodded, glowing with pride. Finally, something that feels like progress. Then I said it, calm, steady. Progress built on forged signatures, offshore transfers, and shell vendors, right? Her pen froze midair. "What did you just say?" I opened the second folder, the real one, and slid the photocopies across the table. The fake vendor invoices, her handwritten LM initials, and a still frame from the hidden camera showing her signing my name 4 years ago. Kenley's smirk cracked. What the hell is this? Truth, I said. Documented, backed up, and already in safe hands. Daniel stepped from the doorway holding a small camera remote, the red light still blinking. Smile, folks. You're live on 3 backups. Lisa's face drained of color. You recorded us? Correction, I said. You recorded yourself. I just pressed play. She shoved the papers away, voice trembling. You can't use that. You baited us. I leaned forward. Bait? No, you volunteered. You just signed a full admission of control over fraudulent assets. Every vendor account Alicia traced, every check Daniel pulled from storage, it all leads back to you. Kenley stood, but Daniel blocked the door. Sit down, Slick, he said quietly. You'll want to hear the next part. I took a deep breath. That $1.2 million proposal you just approved, it's not real. It's a mock expansion contract created under Mercer Industrial Holdings, LLC, a separate entity I quietly re-registered 2 weeks ago. The name you just signed belongs to me, and per your own authorization, I tapped the signature page. You've just transferred all operational rights and project assets back under my ownership. Lisa's mouth fell open. Kenley swore under his breath. I gathered the documents calmly. Congratulations. You just sold me back my company for $0. The silence that followed was the kind that kills noise. Only the old ceiling fan moved, whining softly above their panic. Kenley's phone buzzed on the table. Daniel picked it up before he could grab it. On the screen, the incoming text glowed from Alicia's number. File secured. Fed agents notified. Lisa whispered, barely audible. Dad, what have you done? I looked her dead in the eye. No, Lisa. What you've done is finally recorded. Kenley was the first to break the silence. He shoved his chair back so hard it screeched across the floor. You can't use any of that. You entrapped us. This is illegal. I didn't blink. You'd know, wouldn't you, Kenley? Fraud, forgery, wire transfers across state lines. You've been running this racket under 3 different shell firms. Phoenix isn't your first playground. He froze, and that told me everything I needed. Lisa's voice cracked next. Dad, you don't understand. Kenley said this was temporary. We were going to reinvest. Into whose pocket? I cut in. You didn't just steal a company. You stole every hour I missed with your mother, every friend I lost to the job. You cashed that in for a title you didn't earn. Her lip trembled. For a moment I thought she might cry. Then the panic hardened into rage. You're bluffing. No court will believe a motel hermit with some dusty paperwork. I have lawyers, Dad, real ones. Daniel stepped forward, holding up his phone. About those lawyers, he swiped to show an email. Alicia just forwarded the video files and audit records to the Arizona Attorney General's office, the FBI Financial Crimes Unit, and 3 reporters who've been investigating Kenley's group for months. Lisa went pale. Kenley lunged across the table, grabbing for the phone, but Daniel moved quicker, tossing it to me. I pocketed it. That's strike 1, Kenley. Try it again and I'll let the recording show you assaulted a senior citizen. He clenched his fists, breathing hard, cornered. Lisa looked at him terrified. What do we do? He hissed. We stall. We pay him off. Then, like he was reading from a script, he forced a smile and faced me. George, let's talk business. You've made your point. How about we make it right? A clean settlement. Say $2 million, under the table, and this all goes away. Daniel barked a laugh. You offering him his own money back, Slick? Kenley glared. I leaned on the table, hands steady. You don't have $2 million anymore. The accounts are frozen. Kenley's face twitched. Lisa whispered, "How do you know that?" I smiled faintly. "Because Alicia made sure the feds pulled the plug before you walked in here." Right on cue, her phone buzzed. She answered instinctively, and the blood drained from her face. "Kenley," she said hoarsely. "The transfers, they're blocked. The accounts are all restricted." Kenley swore again, loud this time. "This isn't over, old man. You think you can embarrass me and get away with it?" I met his glare head on. "You're right, Kenley. It's not over." I turned to Lisa, voice low but sharp enough to cut steel. "It's just beginning." The sound of sirens faintly echoed outside, distant but coming closer. Daniel checked his watch. Perfect timing. Through the glass, red and blue lights flickered in the distance, growing brighter. Lisa backed away, whispering, "Oh God, what did you do?" I didn't answer, because she already knew. The sirens grew louder until the flash of red and blue washed through the dusty blinds. Lisa stood frozen beside the conference table, her mouth half open, eyes darting between me and the door. Kenley backed away slowly, muttering to himself, trying to remember his version of control. When the first FBI agents entered, badges raised, the air changed. No shouting, no chaos, just a calm precision that made guilty people tremble. "Kenneth Price," one of them said flatly, "you're under arrest for securities fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit identity theft." Kenley didn't resist. He just sagged, like the string holding his confidence had been cut. As they cuffed him, one agent turned to Lisa. "Ma'am, we'll need you to come with us for questioning." Lisa stumbled back. Wait! I didn't know he was using my father's credentials. I just signed what he gave me." I stayed silent. Watching her unravel hurt more than I'd imagined. This was my daughter, the same little girl who'd once balanced on my shoulders to hang the star on our first Christmas tree after her mother passed. And now she was pleading for air in a room filled with lies she'd built. The agent looked at me. "Mr. Mercer, are you pressing charges personally?" I nodded once. "Everything we have is yours, but there's one more thing you'll want to see." Daniel handed over a second flash drive. "Physical proof #2, he said. "Voice memos pulled from her synced email backup. Metadata shows they were recorded on her phone." The agent slid in his earbuds, hit play, and Lisa's voice filled the room. "Kenley, if Dad wakes up early, we'll say it was a tax restructuring. Once the sale clears, I'll transfer the remainder to the Cayman account. He'll never trace it." The sound broke her. Her knees buckled, and she whispered, "That wasn't supposed to," before covering her face. One of the agents gently guided her toward the door. "Ma'am, please come with us." Her voice was small, almost childlike again. "Dad, I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just wanted—" I raised a hand. "Don't," I said quietly. "Not now." Outside, the parking lot glowed with police lights. Reporters were already gathering by the fence line, shouting questions. "Mr. Mercer, is it true your daughter forged your signature?" "Sir, how long were you in the hospital?" I didn't answer any of them. Just watched as the agents closed the car door on Kenley, then Lisa. Daniel stood beside me. "You did it, boss. You got your company back." I shook my head. "Not yet. They still have to see what she signed today." The agent walked back, holding the fake expansion contract from earlier. "We'll take this too. It's a masterpiece, Mr. Mercer." I managed a tired smile. Built it like I built everything else, measured, tested, and strong enough to hold. As they drove away, Daniel clapped my shoulder. Now what? Now, I said, looking toward the sunrise breaking over the lot. We rebuild. The right way this time. The courtroom was colder than I expected. Hardwood benches, stale coffee, and the soft hum of the ceiling vent. Justice always starts quietly. Lisa sat 2 tables away in a gray suit that looked too big for her. Kenley wasn't there. His plea deal was already done. 15 years in federal prison, restitution pending. She wouldn't look at me. Couldn't. When the judge entered, everyone rose. I'd done this before in my contracting years. Civil hearings, zoning disputes. But this was different. This time it was my name in the caption. George Mercer vs. Lisa Mercer and Kenley Price. The prosecutor called me first. I walked to the stand, swore the oath, and told the truth the way a builder tells measurements. Plain, exact, unforgiving. How I'd been hospitalized. How the signatures were forged. How my company was sold under my name. Every detail landed like a hammer strike. Then came Alicia's testimony. Calm, factual, devastating. She presented the ledgers, physical proof #1, the voice memos, physical proof #2, and the forensic audit she'd prepared with federal agents. When it was Lisa's turn, the courtroom fell silent. Her voice trembled. I never meant to hurt him. I thought I was saving what he built. The prosecutor asked, by erasing his ownership and laundering his assets? She broke then, tears spilling down her face. Kenley said it was legal. He said we'd fix it before Dad noticed. I just wanted him to be proud. The judge didn't flinch. Pride doesn't erase fraud, Miss Mercer. After closing statements, there was no suspense left. The verdict came swift and unanimous. Guilty on all counts of wire fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. Lisa was sentenced to 8 years, with the possibility of early release under restitution and cooperation. Kenley's assets were seized to repay investors and my company. When it was over, the judge turned to me. Mr. Mercer, the court acknowledges your cooperation and the recovery of stolen assets. You're hereby restored full ownership of Mercer Industrial. The gavel fell. Just like that, the noise in my head finally stopped. Outside the courthouse, the reporters swarmed again, cameras flashing, microphones thrust forward. Mr. Mercer, any comment on your daughter's conviction? I paused at the top of the steps. The air was crisp, clean, the kind of air that tastes like starting over. You can rebuild a company, I said, but rebuilding trust, that takes longer, sometimes forever. Daniel met me by the truck. He grinned. So, boss, now it's over. I nodded. Now it's mine again. As we drove away, I glanced at the skyline, the same city where I'd been betrayed, broken, and rebuilt. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel angry, just steady. Because revenge, I realized, wasn't about destroying them. It was about standing again on ground they tried to bury me under, and knowing it's still mine. 6 months later, the company was smaller, leaner, but honest again. Daniel ran operations. Alicia oversaw finance. Every invoice was clean. Every name real. We put "Integrity Restored" on the new logo, our quiet reminder of what almost died. Lisa wrote from prison once. I didn't reply. Maybe someday I will. For now, silence feels truer than forgiveness. I still visit the old house sometimes, the one with the cedar beams I built by hand. When the wind cuts through them at night, it almost sounds like applause, like the walls remember who raised them. If you've listened this far, thank you. Tell me in the comments, what would you have done in my place? And don't forget to subscribe to Revenge Stories Men U60 USA, because stories like mine deserve to be heard.